Hi, everyone, and welcome to Seirim Cybersecurity Daily Report. Today, we're going to discuss two news. The first one, hackers hit hundreds of Cisco firewalls in US government. And the second one, data center fire takes more than 600 South Korean government websites offline. Okay, let's dive in. In late September 2025, US officials confirmed a significant breach. Hackers have compromised Cisco firewall devices used across federal government networks. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, responded by issuing an emergency directive demanding all agencies immediately inspect, patch, and mitigate risks on hundreds of affected Cisco firewalls. Cisco itself acknowledged it's been collaborating since May 2025 with government partners to investigate the attacks with issue security updates. This breach is alarming because firewalls serve as critical network gatekeepers. If attackers gain control over them, they can monitor, intercept, or reroute traffic undetected, turning defenses into tools of espionage. Hi, Steven. So, what do you think about this news? This is terrible, huh?
This is quite a dramatic 0-day here on the Cisco Adaptive Security Appliances, or the ASA. Quite terrible. So in this case, it's super important for every organization that has this to follow the advice from CISA closely as they give detailed steps to minimize the damage and collect forensic evidence to help them backtrack and resolve this issue. So now generally, to help mitigate the impact of such 0 days and issues, we recommend more zero trust architecture, and it will give more layers of defense in case of such an occurrence. So the network here, because the hacker can do remote code execution in the network on the firewall within the network of the victim, they have too much control and ability to wreak havoc, right? So ideally, next levels of other applications and services have more authentication required to access them, more multi-factor authentication as well, so that they would be locked out of them, right? I would also recommend more data segmentation so that any access they do get, they only get access to limited amounts of data, and same with network segmentation as well, that even if they've made it in to this one level, they can't move laterally to more network areas than where they might have gotten their first access. So
Yeah.
this is a huge impact, and hopefully major organizations and more government agencies that are impacted are aware and working on it, because this is a top-level emergency order, I think is the term. What's the term from CISA? It's an emergency directive.
Emergency
So,
directive.
emergency directive on all Cisco ASA platforms and Cisco Firepower Threat Defense, or FTD appliances. So they're one of the most common ones used in government and SME, so it's widespread across the government. So hopefully everyone is aware and around to fix and resolve this issue.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about the second news. In late September 2025, a fire broke out at a major government data center in Daejeon, South Korea, after lithium-ion battery explosion during relocation work. The blast triggered a thermal runaway leading to intense heat that made firefighting extremely difficult. It took about 10 hours to get the blaze under control. Because the servers were at risk of overheating, authorities shut down all 647 government IT systems housed there. As a result, over 600 South Korean government services went offline, crippling essential public services: mobile identification systems, postal banking, emergency services, government email, tax systems, legal databases. Many critical citizen services were affected. By a few days later, only about 46 of the affected services had been restored, but 96 systems were flagged as particularly hard to revive, and the timeline for full recovery remained uncertain. In response, the South Korean government pledged to overhaul how critical systems are architected and distributed. The centralization exposed a vulnerability. With so many services housed in one facility, a single disaster can cascade into a massive outage.
Crazy. Well, I tell you, there's some big takeaways and lessons to be learned from this, right? I don't think anybody working in our industry can improve, battery technology at the moment. So at any time, risks of fire are always present. This is a case of just a natural, it's not a natural disaster, but it's similar. It's just a physical disaster of a fire, right?
Yes.
So you have to realize that that is always a possibility. Even if you do everything right technically, digitally, any data center is at risk of earthquake, storm, and fire, right? I would mention here that even the president of South Korea, I have a quote here, he said he apologized for this, saying it was surprising that the government had no better backup after a similar service outage in 2023, right?
Yeah.
The mistake here is that they have all their eggs in one basket, all running from one singular data center. That's a huge vulnerability, right?
Mhm.
They need to have, ideally, a system for failover or switchover, at least, right? So when you have failover, if any system goes down, another backup system takes over automatically, right?
Yes.
Now, not every organization can have that capability because it's complicated. So if your server goes down in one country, or one location, so it would still be somewhere else in South Korea. Even if it goes down from one data center, the website can come back up because the failover kicks in and it comes back up from a different data center in a different city or location, right? Now, you could do that manually with a switchover system so that if your website or service goes down, your IT staff is aware, they have another backup system ready, and they can switch over to that system and restore the service, right? That wouldn't, it's not as good, but it's a much better than nothing, right? In this case, all their websites are down for multiple days without hope of when they might get back online because they had all their eggs in one basket from one data center. So as we know, when you're doing backups of infrastructure or data, you'd ideally want to have that in multiple versions and locations, not all at one data center, not all in one form. That's the key always. Multiple backups, multiple versions of infrastructure, services, and data in multiple locations, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
that's the main
essential.
takeaway for me there.
Okay. Thank you very much, Steven, for your time. And thank you for watching. So see you tomorrow. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.